Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 119 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of solving murders while hallucinating harder than your college roommate at Burning Man. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson. I'm joined tonight by Corey Heitschmidt. We're missing a Justin tonight, but he'll be back next time. How's it going, Corey?
Good. I haven't slept for 4 days just to get ready for this podcast, and I think Justin is gone. He's actually taking a nap. He said he had to catch up on some sleep. So
that would make sense.
Yeah. We miss you, Justin.
Yeah. It's like method podcasting.
It is.
Like the last.
Yep.
I mean,
Listen,
for you,
Daniel Day-Lewis style. That's how we roll here. Okay.
I mean,
we get into this.
Yeah. For the last one, for our Memento episode, we did it backwards.
Gosh.
And for this one, we just didn't sleep for 4 days.
That's right.
Yeah. Solid. What we'll do for Batman. I don't know. What, Corey, what have you been watching this week since the last time we talked?
So, 1, watch the movie that we got today. 2, I've been watching Picard season 2. Back into Picard, catching up on him. And I finished Resident Alien. Love that show. Doggone it. I need season 4. And then I am about to start. I'll tell you this. I'm about to start the Orville again. I think that show is brilliant. I think that is probably better than some Star Trek. I mean, that is incredible writing. So I need another season of that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's pure genius.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. I've watched that all the way through.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
So I had not watched it in a long, long time, but I rewatched Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. It's directed by James Mangold, who is a very solid director. I mean, I don't really like the most recent Indiana Jones movie, but I mean that's not entirely his because it's not as good as the original ones, Corey.
I think it is. I love it.
I like it too, but not as much. But I like a lot of his stuff. Like he's the one who did Logan, right? And he's the one who did Ford versus Ferrari and 3:10 to Yuma. Well, he did Walk the Line. And then his most recent film, which I also watched, it's kind of the reason I watched Walk the Line again, was because I wanted to watch A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan biopic that just came out. And it was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was. What was interesting, though, is that Johnny Cash is in that movie, too, played by Boyd Holbrook. So totally different actor. But like nails Johnny Cash in a way, maybe even more so than Joaquin Phoenix in the Johnny Cash movie. So... yeah,
he nails Johnny Cash better.
It's a totally different take on Johnny Cash. The Johnny Cash in Walk the Line is kind of coming into, it's more of an origin story. So he's kind of coming into his own. You don't really see him in his prime, so to speak. Whereas this Johnny Cash is very confident, very cool, and owns the room in a way that you don't generally see. Like the earlier Johnny Cash, the River Phoenix one, like he's overcoming drugs and trying to get with June and all the things. This Johnny Cash, it's a different take, but very charismatic. Yeah, it's really same director. So it's interesting that he kind of got a remake. I got to redo that again. So that's kind of fun. But I watched that, and then I rewatched a couple other things I hadn't seen in a while. Super 8, hadn't seen that in a while. Introduced that to my daughter. That was kind of fun. And I watched Munich, which I hadn't seen in forever. And we'll probably do that one when we do our Spielberg series next year.
Munich, Spielberg.
It's heavy. And then speaking of heavy, I also watched Seven just the other day. And I hadn't seen
what's in the box, Craig?
Great film. I mean, some of these films are they're ripe for film analysis too. Some very stylistic choices on a lot of cinematography things. So
now listen, this is the run of the mill of the problem that I have, because some of those movies like Seven, I can't watch that again.
Yeah,
like if it was on TV and I'm flipping through, I might jump in. I'm not picking that movie to watch again because it's too much of an investment at this point. Like I can't emotionally go there again.
Yeah,
except for scenes.
I was telling Justin this today. It's not as dark as I remember it being, but I think some of that was like the first time that I saw it, it was way overwhelming because there's a lot. It's just a lot, but there's a lot more of like Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman just like hawking at the police office, figuring stuff out than I remember. So it's not that complete onslaught of just body horror and all of that. There's a lot more like just conversations and stuff than I remembered. So it kind of gives you a break from the, the tenseness of, what are we going to see next type of thing. So,
yeah.
Anyway, speaking of murder, tonight we're talking about Insomnia, Christopher Nolan's Insomnia from 2002. And Corey, if I'm not mistaken, you had not seen this movie before.
Never seen it. I didn't see the last one that we did with Christopher Nolan. I did not see, which was Memento, and I did not see this one. And I tell you what, I got reasons why, but I was impressed.
Yeah, let's start with just kind of your overall thoughts. So you're impressed. What else did you think?
Well, first off, is that opening sequence from Interstellar? Because I swear that's the same glacier that's in Interstellar, but they're in Alaska. I tell you, this movie, here's the thing that I realized with Christopher Nolan. Craig, you put this movie on here, and I was not looking forward to it. Part of it is Robin Williams. I love him. The guy is, up until this, he had done Patch Adams, Miss Doubtfire, Good Will Hunting. Like, you knew him, Dead Poets Society. You just loved him. Robin Williams was this wonderful character, and this is a different take on him. And I didn't know that I was ready for it. But so then I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And I will say this, the first 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes, I'm in this movie, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of going, it's trudging along. I mean, there's some action, but I tell you, from that moment on, like 40 minutes on, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm in. I got to watch this. I got to get through it. And even now at the end, I'm like, oh man, this would be a good show to watch with Janice, my wife. Mm-hmm. And so I was explaining it to her, but not giving anything away. And she was like, oh, I think I might be interested in watching this. So, I mean, it has that effect. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Here's my take I'm going to say. Nolan does what he does in this movie. He brings in some elements, and he brings in some tension and themes, like, we have two characters, a good and a bad guy, I'm realizing, that mirror each other. Okay, that's what Nolan does with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. They're both a mirror of each other. And there's a little bit of back and forth. They kind of go at it. And so it's kind of, at some point, you almost fall for what the villain is doing, like what Robin Williams is doing. You're like, oh my gosh, I kind of see what he's saying. But then at the same time, you also are kind of like, man, I agree with what Al Pacino's doing. Like, oh, I understand why he's doing it. Like, so you kind of get caught up in this, and Nolan pulls that. But then here's the other part. Nolan is known for time travel, right? He loves messing with time in this movie. And so how do you go and you make time something you can kind of mess with in this movie? Like, it's a psychological thriller. How are we going to do it? You put them in Alaska and you make it 24-hour daylight. So you don't know what time it is. They're talking, it's 3 a.m., right? School's not, it's 10 p.m. School's not out in yet. And so, but it's daylight, bright as a thing out there. And he wakes up in the middle of the night and the sun's up. So it's you're messing with your whole equilibrium of time in this movie. And so it still does that Nolan-esque thing that he does. Yeah. And throws you off balance, keeps you going, kind of distorts your perception, and ends up being a really good psychological, manipulative thriller. And I'm sure we're going to get into more elements here, but I see some of Nolan-esque stuff taken off here. And at the end, I thought, I think I could watch this movie again. Because there's small nuances and lines that I go, oh, it makes sense. That's a long-winded story to say it, but
yeah. But you liked it.
But I did, Craig. Yeah, I'm on board with it.
Yeah. I will say it's my least favorite Nolan film, but that's not to say that it's bad. I just like the rest of them. They just keep getting better. It's unique in the fact that it's the one that he didn't write. It's the only one he didn't write. It's a remake of another film with Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah, same. I think it's Swedish, maybe Norwegian. I think. Funny story about that. Justin told me today too. Justin's here in spirit. That he watched like the first hour of the original film before he realized he was watching the wrong film. Oh, which I thought was hilarious. He's like, I thought Al Pacino was in this. I'm like, yeah. In like the first 3 minutes, he's in this movie.
That's how it comes up with.
So, so that's what another thing too, that, you know, it's Nolan's style is unique a lot because he's an auteur, right? It's all him. Like he writes, directs, and, you know, edits sometimes. And this is not that. This is kind of a hybrid thing. This is his first big studio film. You know, as much as Memento, I think we mentioned Memento was a studio film. It kind of was. It was really kind of an independent film that was bought by, you know, distributors and put out that way. This is like, you're doing this for Warner Brothers, right? So he doesn't quite have the cachet yet to kind of just do his own thing, but it is the movie that gets him Batman Begins. So Warner Brothers is impressed enough with what he's done here to ground it in that way. So I like it. I think the metaphor is really interesting. I like the performances quite a bit. I do want to get into kind of the flip sides of each other thing. I think there was some really good imagery that really solidifies that. But I mean, I liked it. It's a good film. I'm glad to watch it again.
For once, I'm on the other end. Finally got me to like a show, and then you're like kind of ambiguous on it a little bit. Yeah. But now here's the thing. Here's the brilliance of this show that kind of caught me off guard. The metaphor that you're talking about, it's metaphor in a lot of different aspects in this movie. Mm-hmm. We've got it with the lights and what's going on. We've got it with the guilt that he's experiencing, and even in the Al Pacino's character through the whole movie. I feel like I wrote down notes about these different metaphors that I was seeing. And then the other one is some of the lines in here are straight metaphors meant to be a double meaning. Simple line, that is meant to bring in that metaphor again. So
cool. Yeah, let's dive in. So cinematography stuff, composition, color, camera work. What are some things that you saw that really stood out to you?
I'll just start with a couple things. First off, here's the thing that I noticed most of the movie. Did you notice Al Pacino, most of the characters when they're shot, Craig, they're like right here, my camera view is what you're seeing. Yeah. But it's all, Al Pacino was always like this, 1/3 of the screen. It's like, I don't know if Nolan does this intentionally, but everything was thirds. Okay.
Yeah.
All the characters are on a third. It's a wide lens. And so then you have 2/3 of space or another character or something in the background. So it's almost like a sense of isolation, like that person's kind of pulled to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, the cinematography that I caught, the very opening of the movie is Al Pacino's eyes opening up. He's on the airplane and he's waking up and they're flying to Alaska. The ending of the movie is Al Pacino closing his eyes.
Nice.
As he dies off and gets his sleep finally. So, and as it does, the movie he opens, he's looking to the left. And at the end of the movie, he dies and he's sliding to the right. The camera's panning and he's sliding off to the right at the end. Which I thought, in my mind, straight metaphor. This is him beginning and this is him ending in our story. And that's where he came in on the left and he's going out on the right. And so, in my mind, some of the camera work that I thought stood out to me.
Yeah, and I can't see that being unintentional. That feels very, very deliberate. I got to ask, so I'd seen this movie a handful of times before, and so I was kind of looking for it. The first thing that grabs me, and I want to ask you, the first time you see this, the extreme close-up of the blood seeping through the cotton fibers at the beginning, and it's a repeated shot. Like, were you just completely confused the first time you saw that? Did you have any idea what that was about? Did you have guesses?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about it, and I just that part kind of flew over my head like it's just evidence that he's looking at, like it's soaking in. You can't get rid of all the blood.
Yeah,
I don't know. I wasn't. It was kind of there had to be something intentional, but I was so focused on other things that I wasn't. I was just like, oh, it's just a.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it kind of demands a rewatch, right? Because you see it later on. You find he's planting evidence.
That's what that is.
That's
why he was doing
to get the pedophile convicted, and then it's a little bit of that blood gets on his clothes, and so again, there's that metaphor, like his hands are literally,
he's dirty.
He's been caught red-handed. Exactly, he's literally dirty and metaphorically dirty on that. Just brilliant. But some other things that I saw this time, obviously the fog, that whole scene with the fog. with color too, like there's constant sunlight in this film, with the exception of that one scene in the fog where, he literally can't see and metaphorically can't see what's going on as well.
Yeah.
And then with the blue of that, I mean, there's blue is often sad, but it can also be depression. It can also be fragility. And so that, that's a moment that's kind of can go one way or the other. It's that whole movie shifts because of the choices that he makes there. So I thought that was a really interesting color choice. I mean, that's the thing that you see that on the posters. You see that in lots of the promotional material, is that's the scene that kind of encapsulates this whole thing. He can't see what's going on.
Well, I feel like the colors of the whole thing was like blues, grays, whites, greens, like muted. I didn't feel like there was anything bright. The brightest thing I think I saw was the blood stuff. That was it. And even then, like, I feel the school. Did you see it? Oh, it was an ugly green. I mean,
it was. It looked like a prison.
Oh, it was disgusting. Like, I don't know what green that was. And so I thought, man, if that's like the whole dreary aspect of Alaska, that it felt that way. And the whole ambiance with the perpetual sunlight for 24 hours, that's playing into it to where everything's kind of bleached out that way. And
yeah, the one bright color that kind of got my attention, there might have been other ones, but the one that got my attention was when they go into Kay's room. It's when it's 10 p.m. when they first get there. There's so much red, like deep reds in that room, and I'm just like, well, yeah, she died in a crime of passion. Like, that's, I think, what you're supposed to get from that, because it stands out that it's, everything else is, like you said, it's kind of muted, and then this is just very vibrant reds.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did want to point out, I kind of alluded to earlier, you mentioned first off the whole, like, two sides of the same coin. There's one shot when they meet on the ferry, like right before Robin Williams' character leaves. It's a really interesting shot. They have Dormer, that's Al Pacino's character, and Finch on opposite sides of this post on the ferry for this long, like, two shot.
Yes.
And it's like they're literally two sides of the same coin. The way it's set up,
got its face on it. Yes.
Yep. It's a brilliant shot. I mean, like, they're kind of exchanging, ideas of how they're going to try and put this thing through, and each one has to kind of keep the other secrets, and like they're literally just showing, yep, we're the same, in the same exact position. My fate's in your hands, and vice versa.
Yeah. That whole thing was a manipulation mind meld right there. That was pretty impressive by Williams.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about this show also that I had a note here for camera. The shaky camera stuff, you don't really get a ton of it in this one, but you do get a lot in the chasing on the river where he falls in the log.
Oh my gosh, that scene. Yeah.
And it was unnerving to me because all of a sudden, like, he's running on this logs, and I could see this is where it's going to go. You're going to fall in between him and the rivers. That's just what happens. But all of a sudden, you're underwater, and he falls in on top of you. You're underneath, and he's falling down, which to me is a metaphor through the whole thing, like him falling further and further down and sinking, and then being trapped underneath all the logs and the weight of everything.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like the shaky cam is very disorienting during that whole chase scene as he's running after Williams, because as the guy's running across, I kept thinking in my mind, stop shaking so much. I want to see if that's really Robin Williams running or if it's a stuntman. But I couldn't tell because it was so shaky. And in my head, I wanted to know, was Robin Williams really running across that? Because that is like dangerous.
Probably not.
So,
but
probably not. It was a stuntman, I'm pretty sure. But the camera was shaking so much, I couldn't, like, visually, you can't see and get the clear image of him. And it just pointed out to me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good shaky camera right there. So if you're in a chase scene on logs, you're going to be doing the same thing. So
it was good. Yeah. One last thing that I had for cinematography was the scene where Will Dormer, that's Al Pacino's character, finds the dog in the alley. I know it's really gross. He vomits or whatever, and then he stands up, and there's this silhouette of him. You don't really get to see it. He's not clearly defined because he's completely in the light. He's completely out of the light. It's totally in the dark. It's one of the few times that he's in the dark. It's us to say there's no out for you here. There's no light. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. You're stuck. You've committed to this. And this is when he shoots the bullet in there, and later, to try and falsify the evidence and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
And then the last thing I've got is there's a lot of scenes where the person in the foreground is in focus and everything behind is blurred in what he does. And there's the scene in the high school where him and Hilary Swank, who are walking, and his partner is right behind him, and he's blurred. Like, he's in the shot. Like, he's right there, but they blurred him. And so those two are on the thirds, and the partner's in the middle, and he's all blurred right behind him, directly behind him. So I thought those are some intentional things. Nolan's doing so many things is what I'm realizing. This is only my second. Like, I've seen Batman, I've seen all those, but not with this kind of eyes and mindset like you're talking about with cinematography and everything, to where I'm starting to realize this guy's filming more things and has more characters than in the movie than just what's in the script and the name of the guy. So
yeah, it definitely has a flair that comes through even this early.
Yeah.
So as far as sound goes, I didn't have a ton for usually the music is one thing that I kind of gravitate to and try and pull out leitmotif and things like that. I mean, I like the score. It's fine. It's David Julian who's back, who had done, his earliest film Following and then did Memento. He's back. And there's a lot of the same stuff that you got in Memento, where it's kind of this atmospheric, moody and kind of haunting. There's synth and strings, but nothing that I wouldn't say that's very memorable.
No, except Robin Williams' voice on the phone.
Yep.
As a sound is very unnerving. And we don't get it for 50 minutes. We get no Robin Williams until I looked at the time.
Me too. Yep.
And I was like, 50 minutes before you bring in the Robin Williams as a character and he's the villain? I'm supposed to accept this? And he's on the phone, and his voice on the phone is, it's recognizable Robin Williams. Like, I would be able to pick it out of a lineup, but at the same time, he stays in this range throughout this whole movie with his voice that is very different. Yeah. And so I don't know what you thought, but I thought Robin Williams' voice on a phone is creepy as all. He's psychotic. I tell you. So
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, kind of on a macro level, this is the second Nolan movie in a row where like the phone call is really, really important.
Yeah.
It was very much so in Memento too, but like Robin Williams, I had that too. Like, he doesn't come in, we don't even see him for like the first hour. It's like 10 minutes after that phone call. Like, unless he's kind of in the fog or whatever. And that's neither here nor there. We don't really know that's Robin Williams until, like you said, like 50 minutes into the film. But there's other phone calls too. I mean, you have Hap's wife on the phone where he has to tell her that, that Hap's gone. And then you have multiple conversations with the guy from Internal Affairs, John Warfeld. And so it's really almost kind of old fashioned the way you have this with the phone calls, where you're just getting, Al Pacino's reaction to the voice. Really effective, but just an unexpected, like, that should be boring, but it's not, because of the content of the dialogue that's being spoken and the way it's being presented over the phone.
Well, and I think there's some pauses and silences in there that were well done with those phone calls too, where there was a little bit of manipulation from each one back and forth as they're talking on the phone. And there was a couple seconds of pausing and then the other one talks. I mean, it's awkward. In a movie, sometimes silence can be very awkward. And I think that only makes it a little bit more weaponized, like how manipulative Robin Williams was being. Mm-hmm. And so I think his voice, I mean, through the whole movie, he was very in range of a very small range, like not emotional, not outburst. Robin Williams can get real high and loud and excited and ramped up if you've ever seen him in his peak, mm-hmm. And then he can get real serious and heartfelt. And to see him in this role where he's playing a manipulation and a role, and I'm just giving crumbs. I know more about this, I'm in this with you, and you'd be surprised what you're capable of, kind of thing. But he's staying all within a range and not getting excited. Even when he pushes him in the interrogation scene a little bit, Robin Williams does not get like peaked in emotion throughout the whole thing. So I think this is a very different role. It's that sound right there is a very big part of the movie right there, I think.
Yeah. Well, did you have anything else for sound? Because what you just said makes me want to talk about performances.
No. Let's go to performance.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you mentioned, and I had that too, that Robin Williams is very restrained here. And if you've seen anything else that Al Pacino is in, Al Pacino also is really restrained here. Al Pacino, we were having a conversation about this at lunch today. Al Pacino is kind of a caricature of himself at this point. He's screaming in virtually every scene. Like he goes, 0 to 60 very, very quickly. But he doesn't do that here.
No.
Both of these actors, these primary actors, are very restrained. There's a lot you can tell there's things bubbling underneath the surface. And at times you start to see it snap. But for anyone that says, Christopher Nolan is all about, weird plots and like technical things in a movie, but, doesn't direct actors. Like this is the second movie in a row we've gotten outstanding performances from his leads.
Yes. No, see, now here's the thing, because this is what I told my wife, and this is what got her to say, hey, let's watch this tonight. So I may end up watching this again tonight. I told her the whole movie, Robin Williams is always emotional and loud and energetic and sometimes too much energy. And in this movie, he's just a restrained psychopath who's manipulating it. Mm-hmm. And then in Al Pacino's the opposite. You get him in movies like The Replacements, he's yelling. Any given Sunday, he's yelling, right? And he's, he's just a loud guy. And all the things. He's kind of famous for that gravelly, loud voice. By the end of this movie, he's whispering and he's quiet. And it's almost as if 4 days has gone by. All the weight of everything he's done and how far he's fallen in corruption with what he's done, and he's with Robin Williams and all these things that they've been doing. It's like it's weighing down, and the insomnia weighing down on him. And now he's a shell. He's quieter about it. Mm-hmm. As he's talking to the hotel lady at the end and explaining things. Like I noticed he was whispering. When do you ever hear Al Pacino kind of talking real whispery?
Yeah.
And so I think the weight of everything is another metaphor. He sank down until finally he clicks and says, I'm going back after Williams. I don't care. And then he does. And now he comes back to his louder self. So it was an intentional thing. The acting on that was incredible.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just after, again, having that conversation today and thinking about, Al Pacino and Heat and The Godfather and, Scent of a Woman, Hoo-ah, that's
the one I was thinking of.
We don't see any of that in this film.
Nope.
But I think you mentioned earlier, there's some very quotable lines in this film. There's some that don't seem like they're that big on the surface, but they turn out to be pretty big. What are some? We'll do two each. What's one that you have that you would point to and say this is an important line from this film?
Gosh darn it! Okay, I'm going with this one, Craig, because this is the end. This kind of goes exactly with what I talked about, and I wrote this one down right at the end. I actually paused the show right before it ended for this. Al Pacino, throughout this whole movie, for those who've seen it, right? Spoiler alert. As he's killed his partner, he has not taken down Robin Williams. He's covered things up. He's buried this. We find out he's guilty about evidence in L.A. for the right reasons to put someone away. Everything's weighing on him, right? And so he's at the very end, the case is wrapped up there. They think they've got the killer because Robin Williams framed the kid, Randy. Mm-hmm. Al Pacino's back at his hotel. He's trying to block the sunlight from coming through the shades because it's late at night and it's bright.
I feel you, man. Yeah.
He says, and the hotel owner comes in. She's famous too. I can't remember her name. Dang it. Anyway, she comes up and she's like, people are complaining about the noise because he's throwing suitcases up there and stuff up there trying to block it. Yeah. And he says, it's so effing bright in here. Right? And it was dark. And she says, no, it's dark in here. Right? Mm-hmm. This is all metaphor that caught me. This is where I snapped and said, okay, this is Nolan. You got me here. Because the metaphor for this, he's looking at the weight of everything that's coming out. Like it's all coming out. He knows Hillary Swank's onto him. He knows all this. It's so bright. He's in the darkness so far, but it's still bright to him. And then she comes in and she says, no, it's all dark. Like everything you've done is hidden. It's okay. Nobody knows and nobody sees it. And you're in the darkness. And then when she turns on the light, it's too bright. Like he's already become accustomed to the darkness, the light. and so then he has the confession to her of what he's done and stuff. And then at that point, he goes back out at the end of the movie and we have the climax. But that was a powerful line, Craig, and it was symbolic for what Nolan's done. So
yeah. We'll get to her later, but Maura Tierney plays Rachel Clement, the hotel manager. The first one that I had is a quote that Ellie Burr, that's Hilary Swank's character, says, and she's actually quoting Al Pacino back to him, Will Dormer's character back to him, and Al Pacino's character, Will Dormer, rather. She says, "A good cop can't sleep because he's missing a piece of the puzzle, and a bad cop can't sleep because his conscience won't let him."
That's powerful.
And he's both in that moment.
He is. He's
an excellent cop. Oh. But he also has done some very bad things. And both of those reasons are why he can't sleep.
Next one I'm going to go with is Robin Williams on the phone makes some powerful things about, he says things like, we're both just trying to survive. You and I are not so different, things like that. But then he gives him, Robin Williams gives him this line, "We're partners now, and whether you like it or not." And the way that Robin Williams delivers it, it's like this veneer of friendliness, right? We're partners in this now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But it's chilling because it's just Robin Williams is being manipulative to try and turn him, to make him say, look, if I go down, I'm taking you down too. So you're in this with me, and it's easy to kill someone and we just got to move on. We didn't want to, we just had to. And so anyway, it was a very sneaky line. So
yeah, that's great. There was something that just kind of jump off that for a second. There was earlier in the movie, Maura Tierney's character says to Al Pacino, says that your new partner called. It was just kind of a throw, and I was like, having seen the movie multiple times, I was like, I know that's Robin Williams, because he would have called and said, I'm his new partner. And he just kind of plays it off. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, who was it? And you're like, you'll call me back or whatever. Because he literally is claiming that.
Yeah.
So that was great.
But
the other line that I had, it's again meant to be rewatched, I think. Ellie is complaining about having to just take care of misdemeanors. Like, nobody really thinks that she's very good at her job, and Dormer says, you shouldn't knock misdemeanors. He says, oh, but it's small stuff. It gets so boring. And then Will says something profound, and it's absolutely foreshadowing. He says, it's all about small stuff, small lies, small mistakes. People give themselves away, same in misdemeanors as they do in murder cases. It's just human nature. And that, because it is the smallest thing that he's done that she catches, the gun that he had, a 9mm. Yeah, because she goes back because she wrote like her freaking thesis on him,
and she's like,
and she knew he would have had a 9mm, and then she finds the casing. It's the small things that bring him down.
And she reaches around to give him a hug and feels for his extra weapon, like his backup. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man. So which is a good transition into body language. Yeah, because that was a weird. I was like, what is happening? Oh yeah, that's what's going on. It's like you're giving a weird
backup
hug.
Weapon.
Yeah. But yeah, just some other things about her performance too. I think, she's obviously, Hilary Swank is an amazing actress, but just the way that she's smiling at the beginning when she's at Planeland, because she is so freaking eager and starstruck.
Yeah.
At this whole thing, is like he's there to solve a murder, and you're like, yay, my hero is here.
He's coming in. It's kind of a bizarre thing that they would bring in him from L.A. He must be this big name, I know, but. It's just
he's also doing a favor to Paul Dooley's character. And I think Paul Dooley's character is doing him a favor to get him out of Dodge while, the heat's coming down from
That's true. I didn't consider that. Yes.
It's both too. He is also an excellent homicide detective.
Yeah.
So, but some other things I really liked, the part where he's questioning Randy at the school and Randy's popping off and he just grabs the desk and pulls him toward him.
Yeah.
It's such a boss move of dominance. You little snot-nosed kid. I love it so much.
He does not hold back. Just even the way he talks to her friend, her best friend, when he takes her to the dump and he's yelling at her. I was like, man, he's going all out in his.
That's true. That is one of the few times we get to see him go full Pacino.
full Pacino.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I thought, I mean, otherwise the kind of just muted performance. He has kind of just these 1,000-yard stares for most of the film, and his mouth just slightly agape. He looks like an exhausted person, but not an over. You know, he's not rubbing his face. He's just kind of just there.
Yeah. Well, and even her line that she says to him, he doesn't realize it's his line, and she's like, "You said that," and he's like, "Oh, you know." I mean, at that point, he's on day 3, no sleep. So
yeah. But just a couple other just small things I had forgotten, and I think it's a subtle enough thing with the scar on his neck, that's the Leland Street murders. That's the thing that ties. All of this is connected, right? Because she would know what that's about, and then that she goes into the file and all that stuff. But the last thing I just kind of had was, you know, he's wearing that leather jacket quite a bit, which kind of is a little bit unique, and like he's kind of a rebel, right? That he's like kind of views himself as, you know, kind of a rogue a little bit.
the leather jacket, it kept throwing me off because I think of my cousin Vinny when he did it. You know, he's just a hot shot, big city guy coming down to kind of the small town. Mm-hmm. And so every time he wore the leather jacket, in my mind, I was like, oh, Vinny, take off the jacket. It better be made of some kind of cloth, you know?
Yes. Well, people make comments about that too.
Yeah.
Because he has this persona that he projects.
Yeah.
Anything else for performance before we go on to set design?
No, I think Hilary Swank, I think, was held back a little bit. I don't know. She was there, but they made her look like she was on the tracks of getting it solved and piecing it to him. I just wish I could have got more interactions between him and her, because at the end, she's like, this is you. Like, there was nothing along the way. I mean, you kind of saw her looking and questioning, but I wanted her to have more stake in it too, with Robin Williams and with him, you know, a little bit. But I think performances, top notch, great cast. All of them are in there. And, but it was good. It was definitely Pacino and Williams. It was focused on those two.
Okay. Yeah, as far as setting design goes, most of this is filmed on location. Most of it in Canada instead of Alaska.
Columbia.
Yeah, British Columbia. Yeah,
Vancouver. I thought it did not look like Alaska. I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks more like British Columbia. And then I Googled it, and sure enough, it was British Columbia.
Yeah, so it's places you could go and visit in British Columbia. Which is kind of cool, except for that one, the opening aerial scene, which is, and I think that's, I want to say that's in a Scandinavian country that's in Interstellar, but it did remind me of that too. That's the Columbia Glacier near Valdez, Alaska. So that part is Alaska. So some of your establishing shots are.
And to me, it looked like the part in the glacier where Matt Damon's world.
Yeah.
Like I swear some of that shot is recycled. Yeah.
And your famous log scene, that's on Vancouver Island. So you can go do that if you wanted to go try that.
That log scene, those are terrible scenes. Whenever there's a movie with those log scenes, there's a few movies out there that do that, and someone always falls through them. And so it's kind of, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was coming. Part of me at one point thought Robin Williams was going to save him, and that was going to be like, you know, like a manipulation there, but he made it out. It was distressing. The thought of being under logs and him trying to swim and get up. I was like, get out of the water.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Set decoration, I do love that they make a joke about it too. It's the halibut fishing capital of the world. That sign is pretty hilarious. And then they have that scene later. I mean, it's as heavy as Nolan's movies are, and they are extremely heavy sometimes, and they're like relentless. But you know, that turns out to be a joke later. They pay off like at the restaurant. Yeah, where, like, it's just like 17 ways you can have halibut.
Kind of like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Yes.
Just trying to see what other things I have. Just like the wood cabin motif at the hotel. There's paneling for the walls. It's very rustic. Of course, the window shades you mentioned, it won't go all the way down, which meant, like, I sympathize, man, because like if it's not pitch black, I have a hard time sleeping at night. Yes. I feel for that guy.
That whole ambiance of that is just crazy. I don't know how they would do that, live up there like that.
No. But let's see. Some of the things I just had. Randy has a Pantera poster. That's kind of fun, but fits. Some props. It's kind of weird. Again, this 23-year-old movie that you have things like a newspaper that you probably wouldn't have now. There's that's it. Like we're about at the beginning, the opening of the shot. This is again, I kind of have to laugh that Justin didn't know he was watching the right movie, because it's in the opening scene. We have somebody's looking at a newspaper, which shows that he's under investigation. Right. That's the way that's conveyed. It's shown to us. We don't have to have that conversation. And I wrote this down too. It's 4 minutes. It's over 4 minutes until there's any dialogue in this film.
Yes.
You're just supposed to be paying attention to stuff like his eye opening and the newspaper and those kind of things.
Well, and it's very 2003 or 2004 because of that. Because there's no cell phones here. There's no. Nope. The phones recorded typical handheld phone, hand phones back in the day. Yep. And then the part that my wife watched the trailer, and if you watch that trailer, that is a 2003 trailer. It has got the movie guy voice, one man against all odds. Kind of the typical thriller, little analyzing thriller type movie with that deep voice for Hollywood trailers that they did back then.
Yeah. 2002 was a fun time. Some other things I just had, just like he's looking through autopsy photos. Again, that's not going to be a thing you're probably going to be doing, not actual hard copies. Like the ripped in half picture, that's interesting. Like that's a thing. He sees that picture in Kay's room with Kay and Tanya. It's ripped in half, and the other half of Tanya's is in the trash. Like that's not a clue you could do now. Like that would have been deleted off of her phone or off of her laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
The one thing that I thought was really interesting. So when the bullets, right? So he used, what was it? It was a
38.
I'm trying to remember
and a 9mm.
It was the 38. Did he shoot him with the 38? Accidentally, he picked up the 38. Okay, how me get this straight?
Robin Williams' 38 shot the cop in the leg. And then Robin Williams dropped the 38 after Pacino shot his partner. And he said to him, I gave you my uncle's gun because I knew you'd need it to cover it up.
That's right. Okay. So he ends up shooting. He shoots Hap with the 9mm.
Yes.
That's his backup weapon. That's right. Okay. And then later on, he goes and shoots the dog with the 38 that was Finch's. That's Robin Williams' character. And then switches out the bullets in the evidence bag. But it looked to me, it could be wrong, but I watched it like 4 times. It looked to me like he touched those with his bare hands as he was putting them in the bag.
He probably would have, because he was in the car.
He was in the car. It's like,
doggone it, Nolan's human. He made a
prints
mistake.
Are all over the thing. Well, I don't even think that's a Nolan mistake. I think that's hubris on Will Dormer's part, on Al Pacino's character.
Oh, okay.
That he's just like, I got this figured out, but he's also running on like 3 days of no sleep.
Well, technically, what he says in the beginning comes back right there for a payoff, Craig, is that in the very beginning, remember he says they're so meticulous, they take care of everything, but there's always something that gets missed.
Yep.
And so that could be his mistake right there, his miss.
So I feel that's probably super intentional. That he thinks he's outsmarting things, but
because he did wear gloves,
not wearing gloves
all other times. He wore gloves like when he went into the house to get the gun out of the vent, find out that Robin Williams moved it.
Yeah,
he had the gloves on, and
he didn't think to go back and get the 9mm casing.
No, he did not.
That Ellie found. So,
and I thought of that when he did it. I was like, that's a different gun. That casing flew out somewhere.
Yeah, if you know anything about guns, like there's going to be leftovers somewhere.
Yeah.
So, characters. I mean, we talked about just about everybody. I think Martin Donovan is the one who plays Hap Eckhart, who's been in a ton of stuff, and he's a guy that you recognize even if you don't know his name. Like one thing I remember him, like he was like a Hydra agent in Ant-Man. Like he's been in a ton of stuff. He's the one that Michael Douglas punches and breaks his nose at the beginning of the Ant-Man too.
He's in Tenet with.
Yes, thank you. That's the other thing that I'm trying to think of, where he kind of gives John David Washington's protagonist, like, here's the lay out of land. That's right. He recruits him into Tenet. You see a lot of guys that he just keeps, smaller actors typically, like Nicky Katt, rest in peace, plays Fred Duggar. He's the guy with the mustache who kind of resents Al Pacino coming in and take over his case. He's also we'll see him in The Dark Knight, especially in the transferring Gordon scene.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sign up for this. He's that guy.
So Nolan kind of gets some of these guys and brings them back. They get into a couple of Nolan movies. I mean,
like we'll see Mark Boone Jr. again when we get to Batman. But yeah, I think that's, I mean, like you said, it's not a huge cast, but it's a really good cast.
Yeah.
Paul Dooley mentioned earlier, Chief Nyback, Will Dormer's friend. Hero's Journey, not that kind of movie at all.
No, definitely.
Our
I
next
looked
one,
at that part and I was like, there's no hero. But you know what? My thought, because I wrote on here, Craig, I said not a hero's journey, but it could be a hero's fall. Because I mean, this whole movie is Al Pacino, Will Dormer, descent into cover up, scandal, moral compromise, and being the mirror. Like, this is the all heroes have flaws type mentality, and it's kind of the Batman with the Joker,
the Dark Knight.
Yep.
I know we're going the same place.
Two-Face, right? Where Harvey Dent is the bad guy, but we can't let anybody else see it, kind of thing.
Yeah, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Right? And he kind of does. And at the end, Hilary Swank is going to let him die the hero.
Yes.
Because she's about to throw the bullet and he says, don't do it. Like, tells her, don't compromise who you are now. Yeah. And she takes it, puts it in her pocket. And I don't know if she would ever bring that to light or she would have just let him, he killed the guy that killed the girl, right? Like, bring it all up. But you have to bring that bullet in to say, you know, this is what happened here. So I don't know. It's kind of that's what Nolan does though, right? He kind of shows we'll all the heroes are flawed characters. They are not perfect. So I don't know. That's the part of the movie that makes this such a good psychological thriller on it.
Yeah. I agree. I was going to say too, like, as far as world building goes, we mentioned that a lot of it's just filmed on location. So it's definitely meant to be our world.
Yeah.
And the one thing that for me hammers at home is that we don't have a happy ending, but I feel like it's the most realistic one. Like, he was going to be caught. Will Dormer was not going to get away with this.
I felt happy about it though, because he, like you said, I knew he was going down. There's no way out. And the only thing he has at this point is to die with redemption. Yeah. And he does it. And then he just says at the end, just let me sleep. Just let me go to sleep, which he does, which is great. So it's not happy, but
he does. He is redeemed in a sense. He at least he gets absolved from that. And I mean, I believe that, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of moving down to final thoughts a little bit, but I believe he was justified in planting that evidence, because he's like, I know this is the guy. I know it is. I know it is. I know it is. He's a great cop. That guy that he planted evidence on, that guy needed to be in jail or worse. And he knew he was going to slip through. Like, this is, again, we're going to see this a lot. This is the reason Batman exists, because, you know, legally these people are getting away with it. You have to go outside the law to make this happen. Now, I'm not saying I'm arguing for vigilantism, but I think there's justification in what he's done. He's clearly haunted by it, though. I mean, that's the price he's paying. So, and all those other criminals that he got legitimately would also be freed. So that one, I mean, that's the price. Like, you're not just putting that one guy away. You're risking all of the other legitimate convictions too.
Which is what he points out to her. Yep. He points out to the hotel clerk. He says, Robin Williams pointed out to him on the boat, said, every single person you've put away gets freed because of this. Yeah. So you have to weigh your choice.
Yeah. Well, I think he mentions that to Hap too. That they're all going to go. Yep. Oh man. Just doing this podcast is an emotional ride. Just talking about this.
I'm a wreck. I need a nap.
It's a heavy one. It's a solid thriller. I think it absolutely demands rewatches. I think when you watch it again, you'll pick up stuff you didn't catch the first time. Yes. And for me, that's all. Yeah. That's what makes it a rewatchable film. I'm going to get, it's my experience is richer now. Like the things with seeing the cloth at the beginning, you'll know what that is. And, you know, the little line I mentioned, like, oh, your partner called, your new partner. Like, that's just a throwaway line unless you're like, oh, yeah, Robin Williams is already sneaking up and haunting this dude. So.
Yeah.
Anything else, final thoughts, Corey, before we get out of here?
No, I'm just going to point out, I think this is just a great movie that I did not want to watch at first because it does not look like my typical movie. I generally like some conspiracy theory movies, sci-fi movies, comedies. I'm a laughing guy. I love to laugh. So sometimes these dark psychological movies are not ones that I really jump on. But I think you look at Robin Williams, who I didn't want to watch because he's in it, and I know he's the villain. I've never watched his other one he did, 1 Hour Photo. I never watched that.
Right around the same time.
Yeah, and I feel like at the same time, but Robin Williams is one of those guys where he's built a whole audience of trust because of how friendly and jovial and happy he is, that he then uses that to kind of stay even keel and friendly, manipulative throughout this whole movie with Pacino. So, and then Pacino at the same time, known for yelling, gets quiet as he descends into his moral, compromises. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, finally has his turnaround repentance and ending right there. So that's my final thought.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on. So as we close, we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This helps the show tremendously and absolutely helps us reach more people. And as we mentioned before, our next episode will be a review of Batman Begins. Send us an email or voicemail about your favorite moments from Batman Begins, and we'll share it on the next episode.